Good morning and a very warm welcome on a Saturday morning. I know many of you may not find it convenient in the weekdays, hence we plan to keep this session on a Saturday morning. We all right now may be first-time parents of students who are writing the board exam. Some of you may have had some experience with your elder children writing the board exam. But in any condition, when it is a question of board exam, all of us have some degree of anxiety, less or more. And we wanted to address the anxiety. We wanted to also address certain portions of preparation before the board exam. And after the 1 hour of today's session, we are hoping that you are more equipped to handle the situations at home. If you're not more equipped and if you still have many questions, you're welcome to meet us again. We are doing a live recording of this session, and we know there are some parents who could not come today. They will be, the video will be sent to them, and we can even have a repeat version. Teachers, I'm requesting once again, please guide the parents who are just entering to come ahead. There are chairs empty ahead. So let us begin the session. The session will be divided into 3 different parts. There will be a part which I'll be taking mainly about enhancement and how you can prepare the children. The second part will be mainly about logistics and what you expect at the exam center. The third part will be from the school counselor. With her experience, whatever she wants to share with you, she will be sharing. There may be many questions from your side. We will take that at the end of it. This will be the agenda for today's talk. We will have a short introduction. Then how to enhance the performance of the students. The general instructions and board examination date sheet will be shared. The expectations at the exam center. UFM is unfair means. That is what we generally call the cheating cases during exam. So we will be guiding you through what are the categories or what are the areas that are considered under UFM. And board exam coaching schedule that we have prepared for the students. And at the end, we will have some guidance from the counselor, which is very, very crucial as well. So starting with how do we enhance our performance? The first point says focus on the strongest subject. Now, many of us know that children give importance to different subjects with different degrees or varies in degrees. Many of them end up giving importance to the difficult subjects and giving more time to prepare the difficult subjects. What happens is this robs them from the time that is spent on the easier subjects where there is almost a surety of scoring marks. So this is very skewed, like you are giving more time to a difficult subject, but you're not able to score there. You're giving less time to the subject where you can score. This actually creates a lot of dilemma, and we see this in the pre-board 1 and also in the pre-board 2. So little more examples of this we'll be taking in due time, but understand that this difference you should be well aware, and you should take a risk that is calculated. For example, if there is a topic in chemistry or accountancy, or for that matter economics, which the student is absolutely unable to grasp. Very difficult, mole concepts, numericals, extremely difficult, and just not able to get it, how much ever the child is trying. Then the question is, how much weightage does this have in the entire paper? So all of you have the syllabus with you and the breakup that the CBSE gives per chapter wise or unit wise, and also the question type. So calculating the question type weightage and the unit or the chapter wise weightage, you can easily come to a conclusion that there is maybe 6 marks or 4 marks for this particular topic, which the student is unable to do. Then the question about, do I take the risk of not preparing for this 4 or 6 marks and preparing for the rest of the 65 marks or the 64 marks? Is that a sensible decision? Is something that you have to sit with your child and calculate. Once you have calculated and you have come to a decision that, okay, these 6 marks I'm going to set aside. I'm not giving time or not preparing for this. Rest of the, if it is out of 70 or out of 80, the rest of the paper should be prepared so well that you do not lose marks there. This is a calculated risk that you have taken. After this, the student is also very comfortable that, okay, this is what I have calculated, so it is okay not to do that 6 marks. But it is not okay not to do the rest of the portions well. So the concentration on the rest of the chapters will be double, or it will enhance, with the understanding that I am preparing for only, say, 64 marks or for 74 marks, knowing that 6 marks I'm not preparing. Same way it goes for subjects. Many of the students do not give enough importance or enough time or preparatory examinations for English and optional subject, especially if the optional subject is physical education. Very soon, I'm just going to put an example slide of how English or optional subject can actually be your game changer, how that can actually enhance the overall percentage for the child. Okay, so this is something we have to be very, very careful. Please make it a point, one of you, either the mother or the father, if both very good, but at least one of you should be sitting with the child and deciding what are the risk factors and what do we take and what do we leave. So this also comes in the point of selective study. This has been explained to the children very well in classrooms. I'm just explaining once again here. When we say selective study, we take the entire syllabus of the subject, cross it with the exam pattern or the question pattern, and then we do a selective study per test. Like, for example, now the teachers are giving smaller papers, 40-mark paper, 30-mark paper. Some children are getting only chapter-wise exams. That is the selective study. While doing the selective study, you realize which chapter is difficult and which is easier for me. At that same time, they also know which type of question comes from which chapter. Not all chapters, all type of questions come. If you read previous few years' papers and you do the analysis of this year's syllabus, you will easily understand that which chapter has which kind or type of question. And it will be easier to analyze the risk that you're taking by leaving or selecting a particular chapter. Okay? The next point is preparing a timetable and announcing it. The word announcing is very important here. Very often we tell our children to prepare a study timetable. Study timetable is a tool that the student should use. No matter whether the student gets 99, 100 or the student is scoring only 40. That's also fine. Every student should have a study timetable with them. Announcing it to everybody, what does that help in? Normally, if a child is studying in his bedroom or he has a study table designed somewhere, and the child closes the door and studies, nobody's watching me. I'm alone in my room. 5-10 minutes I'll study as a student, then nobody's watching, so let me just see some YouTube or let me do something else. And after some time, let me sleep and let me rest or let me chat. This is very normal. It will happen with us adults also. We all are working. When we are in our offices, when we are working, if I have not made an announcement to somebody that I'm going to complete task number 1 to 5 today, I'm most likely to push this to the next day. Okay, I don't have the time today. Let me push task 3, 4, 5 for tomorrow. Let me do 1 and 2 today. In my case particularly, I give my task list to my secretary. Not for my secretary to do it, because obviously he's not doing it, but for my secretary to be my conscious keeper. If I announce it to him, I will be more compelled to do it. I will have that in my mind that, you know what, I told him I will be doing these 5 tasks. It's not that he will ever ask me, but personally, I start feeling more accountable once I make that announcement. So, if your child is making a study timetable, that study timetable should be somewhere up in the open, maybe in your kitchen, in your hall, somewhere where he announces to you or to other relatives or even maybe younger siblings that, okay, this is what I plan to do in this week. It is more likely that he will stick to the plan if he makes an announcement. Okay, so announcing and keeping a study timetable, very important. At the end of the week, review the study timetable. If there is a lag or there is something that's not covered, then add it in the next week's timetable. This timetable should be in alignment with the board timetable. You all have the board date sheets now. So whichever subjects are coming in which sequence, in the similar sequence, the study timetable should be. We advocate 2 subjects per day, not more than 2 subjects, because it becomes difficult for children to retain or to memorize more than 2 subjects per day. And a minimum of 3 to 4 hours per day. So you can divide between the two. The students who have math should do math every day. So math is not an option. So math should be every day. The other subject can be alternate. Next one, creating an imitation or simulation. This again is a very important point. Before I go to the point, teachers who are standing behind, can you just come ahead and you can occupy the black chairs over here? So, going to the imitation or simulation, how does this help? Very often, when we meet the children who have not performed well, usually our first question is, what went wrong? So we want to analyze what thought procedure went wrong, and based on that, we want to recommend something. Most of the time, the answer that we get from students is, ma'am, when I saw the question paper, I blanked out, or I panicked, or I knew few questions, but few questions looked so unfamiliar that I did not even know what to write on that. Now, what this indicates to us is that the students are studying differently and giving the exam differently. There is no match between how I study and how I attempt an answer. So, simulation or imitation in the home will create a similar environment. So, what happens in the exam hall? When a student sits in the exam hall, he is given one blank answer sheet and a list of questions in the form of question paper. When the child has a reading time, the child is supposed to read all the questions, and somewhere in his mind, he would have started thinking, what answers should I give? During that time, if the questions are familiar, and if he has practiced it before in the same format, it will be very quick for him to recollect. That, okay, this question I have done, this is the way I answered it, these are the number of points, I begin here, I end here. These will come quickly to them. But during the studying, if he has just read the textbook, which normally children do, read aloud, textbook, content, It's, one content above the other, then the other. It's just content going through. There is no question answer. So he knows a lot of content, but while writing the examination, he has to filter all that content, frame an answer, and then put it on the paper. While framing that answer, half of the points he will remember, half he will not. So many children don't end up getting full marks for answer. So if your child is not getting full mark, this could be the reason. So match the studying or studying style to the question answer pattern. I have been telling this for a long time, children know it, but y'all are also aware, y'all can also help them that way. Do not begin with content. Now it's high time. Like if you don't know the content, you don't know it. Now there is no time to go and revise your content. Begin with the question paper. Begin with the question bank. Begin with the chapter end questions. But begin with questions. In the process of learning answers, you will learn the content. And as adults, we all know, full content is never asked in the paper. We know there are only typical content, typical questions that come in the paper. So let them start learning question and answer pattern, which will help them to attempt the answers or attempt in the exam in a better way. The questions will be more familiar. So imitation or create a simulation of exam time at home. Memory curve, I think we have spoken about this in our orientations also before. Everybody knows this, but just for the benefit repeating, the more times you learn a content, the more likely it is for you to memorize it for longer time. Ideally, within 16 hours, if you learn a content 3 times, it moves into your permanent memory. It's a biological thing that may happen, and you are able to recollect it better. That's why in the classrooms when teachers teach, they tell students to go home and revise it once. Because the teacher already does it 1 or 2 times in the class while introducing the concept and while recapping. So already 2 revisions are done. The third one is that we expect the children to go home and revise. The concept of 3 revisions started from there, that it just sticks in your memory a longer time and it's easier to recollect. Likewise, the lesser you read the content, lesser times you go through it, the more memory loss you'll have. So that's what the memory curve. Even if you Google search memory curve, you'll get enough material on it. Nourishment and sleep. We have students come up to us many times saying that they haven't had anything since morning till almost 1:30, 2 o'clock. It's very difficult for us to convince youngsters to eat in the morning. I know that. Most of us, we tell them, at least have a glass of juice or milk or tea or something to eat and go. But most of the children are like, no, I'll have it later. But eating has a direct impact on the alertness of the students. And sleep has a direct impact on the memory. So we need to remember eating and sleeping is very, very crucial for giving the examinations well. Many children, they are sitting up to 2, 3 o'clock in the night just before the exam day. And they only have like 3 or 4 hours of sleep. Next day, they are not likely to remember everything. So for memory, sleep is important. For mind's alertness, nourishment is important. And we need both of this. We need alertness and we need memory. So please ensure that, if not anything, find out a way, whatever the child likes. Now there is no time to negotiate, aaj burger nahi, juice nahi, whatever the child needs to eat, feed right now. But nourishment is important. Fruits, many students are averse to fruits. I don't know for what reason, but if you have a habit of having fruits at home, then do include your wards or your children also. Because many of us as adults, we will eat at least 1 dose of fruit every day. While we are cutting the fruit for ourselves, ensure that there is a half a bowl or one bowl for the child and he finishes it or she finishes it. So though fruits in small quantities are also okay, but they are essential. Minerals, vitamins, very, very essential. Next. This is the breakup of 10th and 12th standard type of questions. This is just the broad breakup. So if you see the MCQ questions or the questions that were focused on case-based questions and integrated with other topics, it started with 25%. Last year it was 30%, and this year it is 40% for 12th standard and 50% for 10th standard. So we need to understand these are application-based questions. These are not rote learning. Whatever concepts the children have studied, they have to apply it. Only then they will be able to answer. The competency-based questions are increasing. Weightage is increasing. And furthermore, it will increase from the CBSE side, and we will be compelled to follow that. As a school, we have already taken measures. We have had almost 22 hours of training for the math and science teachers this year on how to develop competency-based questions and how to prepare children for it. So we also want children to take measures that everything won't be rote learning. Some part will be application. And that portion is increasing every year. The MCQ is 20% for both, and the long answer or short answer reasoning answers is now 30% for 10th standard and 40% for 12th standard. Okay, these are few examples. Now, these are examples through our experience, but they are not direct examples of any particular student. So don't look for names in this, but if you just see the first part of it, the 3 core subjects over there: physics, chemistry, math, or you may have accountancy, business study, eco, or you may have sociology, political science, and biology. And then we have optional and English. So in the first set, if you see, the marks of the core subjects remain the same. Suppose your child falls somewhere in that range. Similarly down, you can see usually the core subject marks I have kept it same and just altered the optional and the English. And we are now going to see the impact that this can make. So optional subject on the top, and in each column it is similar. If you just increase the score by 8 marks or English by 10 marks, which is easy to do, the total percentage change is almost 4%. So you move from 54.4 to 58, or from 68.4 to 72, or from 76.6 to 81. By just altering your marks in optional and English. If a child is unable to score well in the core subjects, optional and English subject can be your game changers. It can go up to, if you are able to move by 15 marks, your 62 becomes 77 and 65 becomes 90. Which is possible. We also have 100 on 100 in English last year. So it is very much possible. In that case, your change of percentage goes from 54 to 62. There is a direct grade change from C1 to B2. There is a full grade change there. Similarly, and this we have had an example. Without taking the name, let me tell you, there was a student who has scored 99 in all subjects and had a 92 in English. It really brought the percentage down. And after the exam happens, then we do a debriefing, you do a retrospect, and then we realize that actually we didn't give English that much importance at that time of preparing for English. So please take this into notice and give the importance to English also. These calculations you can do at home with your child, your expected score. And based on your expected score, this is what your percentage looks like. Where can you enhance? Can you do it in business study? Can you do it in eco? Can you do it in physics? No. Then can you do it in optional? Can you do it in English? How much can you do? And then bring it up to the desired percentage. When you take admissions in the universities, different universities have their own criteria, but most of the universities look for overall percentage. So there, this helps. So if you see the last slide, the student 88% can easily move to 97. The last block over there. So take this into your homework kind of thing with your ward. Sit with them and ask them to make some targets based on some reality, not just, I wish I will get that. What did he get in pre-board 1? What happened in pre-board 2? Normally, there will be a minimum 15 to 20% jump from pre-board 1 and 2. Take an average of that and calculate from there. And if you see that you need to make adjustments in certain subjects, make that. So you're more aware of how to prepare them. Okay, so this is from me, and I will ask Lissy ma'am to come ahead now and take you through some logistics. If you have any questions, please reserve them, we will answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Radhika ma'am. Good morning to one and all present here. So now I and Lissy ma'am will be continuing with the session. Lissy ma'am.
Warm good morning to one and all present here. I will quickly take you through the general instructions. We will be giving a hard copy of detailed instructions along with CBSE guidelines.